Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. My name is Nithin Thomas. I am a real estate consultant serving the greater state of Texas. I have markets in Austin, Dallas, Houston, San Antonio. It is my pleasure to introduce you today to Jason, who's going to be giving us an introduction into FHA loans, VA loans, and other types of loans that you can explore if you're a first-time home buyer or a buyer exploring to buy in the state of Texas. With that being said, it's my pleasure to introduce you to Jason. So Jason, give us a quick introduction to who you are, what you do, and why you do it.
Well, thank you so much, Nithin, for having me. My name is Jason Bonafazi, and I'm a loan officer with Primary Residential Mortgage here in the Houston area. I've been doing this for the last couple of years, and I really enjoy it. There's so many different facets of our business that we can do as loan officers. There is, of course, the banking side of talking to people, working on their files, and getting them into the home of their dreams. That's always a special part of it, is helping people. It's a big part of it. But also, what I do is end up teaching a lot to real estate offices. I end up doing a lot of training. So I enjoy that aspect of the business as well, as far as the getting to know people, getting out there, meeting agents as well. So it's a very rewarding career, and I've enjoyed
Fantastic.
it. Yeah.
How long have you been doing this?
I've been doing this for up 3 years now.
Nice, okay,
Yes.
fantastic.
Yeah.
What markets do you serve?
I live in the Houston area. Now, technically, I guess I can do loans, home loans, anywhere in the state of Texas.
Okay.
I concentrate mostly in the Houston area, though.
Okay, cool. And do you have a specialty that you focus on, residential, commercial, investors, any of those sectors?
I am licensed as a residential. They distinguish that in mortgage lending, so you're either residential or commercial. I am residential.
Okay, fantastic. I gave our audience a quick idea of like what we're going to be going into,
Sure.
But could you give me a brief breakdown of what we're going to be focused on today based on the slides we have presented for them?
Absolutely. So what we're going to be looking at is, I would say, I would put them in the category of the normal loan types whenever somebody's looking to buy a house. So the normal loan types, and then we'll get into other loan types that a lot of people don't know about, that are maybe less, let's say they're less used, less known, just a rare type of loan.
Makes sense.
But it makes sense, but also you want to make sure that your clients know that they're available depending on their line of work, let's say. And then finally, we'll end with down payment assistance. TSHAC is a state program, so we'll finish off today talking about TSHAC and down payment assistance. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Just to give you guys a quick heads up, these videos are going to be chopped into 3 to 4 parts. You will see majority of the videos come out as the time goes. We're going to be first focused on the segments that are related to FHA, VA loans in this first segment, and towards the last parts, we're going to down payment, as Jason mentioned. With that being said, let's kick us off.
Sure.
Okay. So the first thing we have is conventional loans. So can you, referring to these 3 points here, can you give us a quick 30-second breakdown of what a conventional loan is and why should people care about conventional loans?
So anytime we're ever setting somebody up in a loan, we have to put them in a loan type. So conventional loan is a very good loan. People with 620 credit scores or higher, you get the option of how much you want to put down on the house. For first-time home buyers, you can go as low as 3% down, which is very attractive, especially for first-time home buyers. But this other standard is 5% down on that conventional loan. If you put 20% down on a conventional loan, then you will not pay mortgage insurance. So that's another benefit of putting the extra amount down, is no mortgage insurance.
Gotcha, that makes sense. Talking about mortgage insurance, I'm curious, could you tell me, does that have any reflection on the down payment? It sounds like it does when you said if you put 5% versus 20%, that does affect the mortgage insurance. Is there a reason for why that is connected to the percentages? Like, well, let's say a client wants to do 20%, do they have the option of also getting mortgage insurance with it, or is it something that automatically just kicks in based on the down payment?
Sure. Mortgage insurance is for the lender, not for the buyer.
I see. Got
so
sense.
it's to make sure that if it takes away the risk of us in the bank lending you money. So it started many years ago, but mortgage insurance is more for the banking side of things. So if you put 20% down, the client, then the buyer, doesn't have to pay any mortgage insurance, which can add up as time goes by. Correct, especially if you're paying mortgage insurance. So it does affect your monthly mortgage rate. But yes, the more you put down, so if you put 5% down or 10%, the mortgage insurance would be less. But then at 20%, even if you bought the house, once you own the house at 80% equity, that mortgage insurance will automatically fall off.
Okay, makes sense. Talking about automatic, I'm going to shift to focus on a little bit on talking about rates. Rates are obviously not directly automatic in the sense that it is variable. Sometimes it changes, sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah.
So I want to connect that and talk about fixed versus adjustable rates. Specifically, can you give us scenarios where a fixed rate option might be more advantageous versus in situations where it's not? Now, keeping into the condition where in our current market, we have rates that are around like 7, close to 8%,
Yeah.
which compared to 1980s, this is sort of the highest it has been. So taking that factors into account for a buyer who is shopping for a home in the next 3 months or so, is it fixed or adjustable rate that is more more advantageous from your point of view?
Well, the advantage of having a fixed rate is that you know what the rate is going to be for the life of that loan. So most people get a 30-year fixed mortgage. You know what the interest rate's going to be. So there's a comfort in that, let's say, of having it for a fixed rate. Adjustable rate is, okay, well, interest rates are high right now, but I think they're going to be, let's say, lower in the future, but I want the house right now.
Yeah.
So there is an advantage of that, of you can get it lower, and as time goes by, as the years go by, they will slowly creep up in the interest rate. But again, so it's a variable, it's
Makes
a little
sense.
riskier, I would say, but
Yeah.
there is the advantage of, okay, well, I can get a lower interest rate for the next few years, and if interest rates do go higher, maybe I'll look into refinancing, whatever. But the fixed rate gives a more
Predictable understanding of
more
like what-
predictable.
Right, and that makes sense.
Exactly,
Okay,
yeah.
cool. So that covered most of the details on conventional loans. Anything else you want to share, like last aha moments related to conventional loans, or key takeaways that a user or a buyer should keep in mind when it comes to conventional loans, besides the things we just talked about?
I would say that just to reinforce the 3% down payment for first-time home buyers seems to attract a lot of first-time home buyers now. It's a newer program offered by conventional loans, but also the mortgage insurance dropping off after 20% is another attractive factor to these conventional loans.
Okay, fantastic. So I want to do a quick plug here and say if you guys have any questions to me or Jason, we will have our contact information listed in the description below, and we'll also have his phone number and other details showing up in the screen as well. So make sure to reach out to Jason if you're in a Texas market related to conventional loans and other loans we're going to be talking about throughout the video. So this covers the conventional loan portion. We're going to now shift into talking about VA loans and FHA loans. So let's go ahead and look into that. Okay, so now we're at the FHA loan section, and the first question that I have for you, Jason, is related to first-time homebuyers focus. So when it comes to FHA loans, what should be a first homebuyer's consideration specifically related to this loan?
Yeah, FHA loans, as mentioned in that slide, that is traditionally the first-time homebuyer mortgage option they would get, simply because it is only 3.5% down. But also, they're much more lenient on things like your credit score and what's called your DTI, which is debt to income.
Right.
So those are different numbers than the conventional loan we just spoke about. So they can go as low as 580 for a credit score. So there's a little more wiggle room there for people who don't have, let's say, the greatest of credit. So if you go to 580, but also the debt to income mentioned. Conventional loans have a 50% debt to income. FHA loans have a 57% debt to income. And so what debt to income is, what we're talking about whenever you see DTI, debt to income, is that we look at what your income is, but also whenever we're pulling your credit report, it's going to show your debt level. So we have to compare that together and say, okay, well, you make X amount, but you also have this much debt that's showing up.
Right.
Whenever we take all that current debt and we include a house now, your debt level cannot go over 50%, 57% for an FHA loan. So it's a little more attractive to a lot of people because I can get a higher amount on a house because the debt to income is higher for an FHA. So that's a big factor in why people choose FHA loans over, let's say, a conventional
Makes
loan.
sense. Okay. Talking about FHA loans and the first-time homebuyers focus to it, I'm curious to learn a little bit more about the mortgage insurance requirement that goes into it. So can you discuss the implications of having mortgage insurance on the life of a loan for an FHA?
And that's one of the downsides of an FHA loan is that you will always have mortgage insurance on it.
Regardless of down payment.
Regardless of your down payment, if you put down 20% on an FHA loan,
I see.
you will always, for the life of the loan, you will have mortgage insurance, which it does add up. I mean, think about I'll throw a number out there. Let's say you're paying $100 a month in mortgage insurance. Well, over the course of 30 years, that's a significant amount of money.
Correct.
So to keep that in mind also whenever you're buying a home and choosing what loan package you want, to be aware of that also with FHA loans.
Okay, fantastic. And my next question that I had want to ask you was really that debt income ratio, but you already covered that with the 57% and the 50% that we have on the conventional loan. I want to also ask last question is, what sort of main takeaways should a buyer should have when it comes to looking at FHA loans? You already talked about 3 things here: the DTI, the mortgage insurance. Anything else that you have on your mind that you want to share?
I always want, if they can qualify for both or either a conventional and FHA, I do like to run numbers on both to compare interest rates, because interest rates are also different depending on what type of loan package you're getting. So I do like to compare what's the better deal as far as even interest rates go, if you can get into either type of loan, conventional or FHA, to run those numbers about interest rates also. Okay,
that makes perfect sense. We're going to now shift and talk about VA loans. But first thing is, if you guys have any questions, don't forget to also use the comment section. That is something that's predominantly available. And Jason, we forgot to ask earlier, do you have any social media platforms? If there is, do you know how we can get in touch with you on the internet? Can you share some details about that?
Well, I'm certainly on Facebook. That's maybe the major social media outlet that I use. So if you type in Jason Bonafazi on there, my name will, there's not a lot of Jason Bonafazis out there, so my name is a little bit rare, so you would easily be able to find me, or just type my name in Google, and my website for primary residential mortgage will also come up.
Okay, fantastic. So I'll definitely make sure to add that in there as well. Let's shift to talk about VA loans. Cool. So as we know, we just talked about conventional loans and FHA loans, and now we're shifting into the VA loans. The first question that I have for you is related to the no down payment feature. Now, this is talking about the fact that in VA loans, no down payment is required. So I want to understand, how does that affect the affordability for a eligible borrower when it comes to the type of homes they want to buy? Could you just share some details on that?
Sure. VA loans are fantastic loans for our veterans. They started around World War II when our boys were coming back from war. It was an effort of our government to help them get into a house. So that's one of the great benefits of the loan type, is that there is no money down required. Now, certainly they can put money down, but it's required 0 down. Also, no mortgage insurance is another great benefit of VA loans.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
So it does help as far as affordability goes, because they're not paying any mortgage insurance now, and no money down. So most veterans, whenever they start looking for houses, they will immediately start asking for VA loans and information on that.
Right. And so that's interesting. You mentioned they have no mortgage insurance, and it's like no down payment is required as well. This means compared to the VA, compared to FHA and the other loan that we were talking about, which is a conventional, it seems like for both of those, you have to, they have mortgage insurance depending on the down payment, but for the FHA, the down payment, regardless of the down payment, you get mortgage insurance. But for VA, even though you're not putting any down payment, you still are not getting any mortgage insurance. Obviously, the mortgage insurance is in favor of the lender. That is to protect their risk there. That's interesting. I want to talk about certificate of eligibility, or just in terms of who is eligible. You already kind of gave the hint that is for veterans. Can you give me an understanding of how somebody can apply for a VA loan if they are a active duty or inactive duty? How does that sort of look into it?
So if somebody comes to me and says, I'm looking into a VA loan, I have to have documentation showing that they were in fact in the military, and not only in the military, but whenever they left the military, they left on good terms.
Oh, okay, I see.
That's really what the certificate of eligibility is. So anytime I'm talking to a veteran and I say we will need to have a certificate of eligibility, they really don't bat an eye. They know what I'm talking about. It's just a matter of contacting the VA, and they will give us a document saying they left on good terms. Yeah. And that's really all it is, to show that, in fact, they did, and there was no problem. There were no problems.
Fantastic. One last question that I have for you related to VA loans is, when it comes to the value of a home, is there any restrictions that a VA loan applies? Like, for example, I know there's like things like jumbo loans and balloon loans or things of that nature. So is there a price limit that a buyer has when it comes to using a VA loan to buy a home? So for example, the average home price, as you know, I'm in Austin, so the average home price in Austin is $450, but depending on which region you're in Austin, that can shift. So compared to Houston, obviously Houston is a little bit more affordable compared to Austin. Austin.
Yeah.
So if a VA, for somebody who's using a VA loan in Austin, do they have a price cap or something of that nature where they says, hey, because of the limit of the home, we cannot buy the price of the home, we are not able to use a loan? Any of those details there?
It does not come up with a VA loan. There is no price limit. There is no loan limit for VA
Right,
loans.
correct.
There is a loan limit for conventional and a loan limit for FHA loans. But with VA loans, there is no loan limit on there. They might, if you get over a certain amount, require a little money down, but you would still be able to get the VA loan. You would still be able to have no mortgage insurance as well.
Makes sense. I'm going to shift a little bit really quickly on just something that caught my attention. Loan limits. Could you give me just a quick breakdown of what the loan limit is for the conventional FHA and VA loans that we just talked about?
Yes, sir. So every year, housing prices change. And so every year, these loan limits change for the loan types. Right now, 2023, an FHA loan is the loan limit, not the purchase price limit, but the loan limit is $472,000. I haven't seen the numbers yet for next year.
Okay.
Right now, for conventional loans, it's 726. 726,000 is the loan limit. The numbers have come out for that for next year. They're going to be $750,000 will be the loan limit for conventional loans. But as we just talked about, VA loans have no kind of loan limit.
Correct.
And I don't see that. I don't see that changing at all.
Correct. Okay. Fantastic. Awesome. So that wraps up the questions related to the VHA loan. I'm sorry, VA loan, FHA loan, and the conventional loan. We're going to shift and talk about USDA loans and the ITN loans, and then after that, we're going to shift and talk about alternate loan types. First and foremost, what is a USDA loan?
The United States Department of Agriculture has loans also that's, again, started in the 1930s. Again, it was to attract buyers into more rural markets. So it is limited on where the house can be. It has to be considered a rural area, meaning a town of 25,000 people or less. And you can go on the USDA website, and they will show you a map of the United States, and they have it color-coded to let you know what is considered to be a rural property or not. And so I guess as the years go by, I'm in Houston, you're in the Austin area, those maps have changed over the years because I'm sure that what used to be farmland and rural is now suburb and sprawl. So it's constantly changing, especially here in Texas. But you will know if that property, if you're looking for a particular house, you can go on their website and say, oh, that's in the designated area to potentially qualify for a USDA loan, or no, it's in a town, it's in a city, cannot qualify.
That makes sense.
So automatically, if it's not in that area, you will not get a USDA loan if you're not in that specific geographic area.
Might make sense. Okay, cool. Talking about USDA loans, and we just covered the eligibility aspect of it, what income restrictions are there when it comes to USDA loans? Specifically, are there any requirements when it comes to the income category that a club buyer needs to be in when it comes to USDA loans that they need to qualify for?
This is a little different type of loan than the other ones. The other ones, there is no income limit at all. But with USDA loans, your taxes will be looked at, and there's the median income of that area. You can't earn more than 15% of the median income of the area. So it limits you on, so you're now limited by the geographic area, but also you can't make over a set amount of money, over 15%. So there's more limiting factors with a USDA loan than the others.
Okay, that makes perfect sense. Who are the typical person that would want to get a USDA loan? You also mentioned, you did mention through your breakdown that it was for agriculture purposes. So is it more tailored toward individuals who want to start a farm, or somebody that wants to go set up buy a house in a rural area and then start farming corn or soybeans or whatever it may be? Like any size type of individuals that's tailored toward the USDA loan?
It is certainly tailored to people who want to be farmers, maybe ranchers, but it's also just to people who maybe want to live in a small town.
Gotcha.
You don't have to be in the agriculture business. So I want to live in a small town. It's also attractive because, again, it's this zero down is required. So a lot of people like the idea of not having to come out of pocket to get into this house.
Okay. This wraps up the video. We're going to next talk about ITN, down payment resource and alternate loan types. So make sure to ask us any questions related to conventional loans, FHA loans, VA loans, and loans related to the USDA loans as well in this video in the comments. And then if you have any other questions, check the description below to find details to contact me and Jason. And Jason, before we go, how can society stay in touch with you? Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube. Can you just give a quick introduction to that?
I am on Facebook. So if you type in my name, Jason Bonafazi, on Facebook, I'll come up. not a lot of Jason Bonifazis out there, so it's probably going to be me. Or a web search, Jason Bonifazi, my primary residential mortgage website will also come up.
Fantastic. Well, Jason, thank you so much for the first segment. We're going to now shift to the second segment. I'll see you guys in that clip.